Hi, friends, and welcome to this LinkedIn Live session where we'll talk about our newly launched employee value proposition, or also known as Sun's promises to its employees. This session will be for about 30 minutes plus minus, and please also type in your questions in the chat if you have, and we will get to answer them towards the end. So you can use the chat for this. Just coming to, so I'm Suresh Rai and I lead HR globally for Sun Pharma. And I'm joined in by my great colleagues, Mr. Abhay Gandhi and Dr. Meeta, who are part of the Global Sun leadership team. And I will introduce them shortly. But before we start, let me give you some quick facts about our industry and Sun that you may not know. Look, in many ways, our industry is like a secret superstar. Unlike our much wanted, the IT industry is where there is a lot of lot of talk and chat, but pharma in some ways has not done itself too much of service by not talking about itself. So I would say that so we are a extremely exciting industry, and you will see that as we will share about some of the facts, that it is a huge growth opportunity and a amazing place for people to make their careers in. So in many ways, looking at the global pharma, if we just look at global pharma industry, so until last year it was almost 1.5 trillion in size, and by 2030 it is going to become almost 2.5 trillion. And just coming to India per se now, is since we are speaking from here in Mumbai, is India is the pharmacy of the world, being the largest provider of generic medicines globally, exporting to over 200 countries. And pharma industry itself in India is about 65 billion US dollar in 2024. It will double by 2030, so which is about almost 130 billion. And imagine, lo behold, where we have this Viksit Bharat vision for pharma industry by 2047. By 2047, the industry just for India alone will be almost half a trillion USD. So just imagine the amount of growth possibilities which is there, and careers are made in places where there is growth. Sun, coming to Sun specifically, that's where we are. We all work for Sun. Is the number one pharma company in India and number four specialty generics company globally. And we played a major role in the Indian pharma industry, expanding globally with presence in more than 100 countries, 43,000 employees, and 43 manufacturing facilities all across. And much like the IT industry, lo behold, two-thirds of our revenues comes from outside. And in fact, Abhay here, himself personally manages, and he and his team manage almost 2 billion of our revenue, and only one-third is in India. So today we want to talk to you about what makes Sun, our company, a place, which is where people can choose to stay, grow, and thrive. But before I get there, let me welcome my colleagues, and I will ask them to introduce themselves. So Mr. Abhay Gandhi, he is our CEO of North America business. So Abhay, if you can kindly introduce yourself.
You just did, so thank you for having me. So yeah, I work as the CEO for North America, and I've done various other assignments in Sun for the past 30 years. So thank you for having me, and pleasure being here with you and Meeta.
Okay. Yeah. No, thank you, Abhay. And in fact, I would say in many ways you you embody Sun. So you are the in terms of, in some ways, Mr. and Mrs. Sun, as you would say. So you are the Mr. Sun here, and we will talk more and get to know about from your rich experience. But before that, so let me introduce Dr. Meeta Chatterjee, so who is our Global Chief Strategy Officer. So Meeta, if you can kindly introduce yourself, please.
And you just did. But,
Yeah.
I'm Meeta Chatterjee. I joined Sun August of last year, so I've been here a little over a year. And it's my pleasure to be here. I am Chief Strategy Officer, and I look after BD and Alliance, and I'm here to help Sun grow in the specialty space. So,
thank you, Meeta. And coming back to our topic for the day, which is Sun's employee value proposition, or our promise to employees. So a year back, we started global dialogues with leaders and diverse group of employees all across, in North America, Japan, Latin America, Africa, and asking people that, what makes them stay, grow, and thrive at Sun. So what is that secret sauce? And what we distinctly heard from them, maybe a quick snippets, is that something about our scale, the huge scale, the complexity that we have, the global footprint and culture, it encourages people to learn, because the biggest the biggest career growth happens through learning, through handling diverse, complex, solving complex problems. And hence, that is what makes people become ready for future as a big leaders. Secondly is taking charge in their roles, taking entrepreneurial charge, thinking about how to make a difference, and that is something which really allows them to create a meaningful impact. Thirdly is being a part of the high performing and supportive team, is what really, that is something which gets them going every day. In fact, the feeling of happiness when you are part of a supportive and a cheering team. So that's what we call our employee value proposition, which is three words, guys and friends: better every day, take charge, and thrive together. Now, Sun is truly a place where one is enabled to create your own sunshine. So you create your own sunshine. So maybe to start off with is so let me ask Abhay, that Abhay, if you can just tell us, please, that what does this creating your own sunshine means to you, to our people at Sun?
So thanks for the question, Suresh. I mean, the way I look at it, speaking in today's parlance, the Sun which I joined back in 1994 was a startup.
Yeah.
Our global annual turnover was something like $4.5 million. And I still distinctly remember that the BU that I had joined as a marketing manager, the first month goal was 93 lakh rupees, which is $100,000.
Wow.
So the Sun that I joined and the Sun that we are today are like, poles apart.
Poles
It's
apart,
like hugely different organization. Like we always say that luck plays a great part in success, and I guess joining a startup where you had an entrepreneur with a vision running the business, I had great colleagues with whom I worked with, my peers, my boss, my subordinates, and so on. I got lucky.
Yes.
I think the company grew and I grew with the company.
Right.
That's a simple way of answering the question. But when I reflect back, things which helped me, and this isn't about me, I can go on about at least hundreds of people I know within the company who have had really spectacular careers and successes within the company, and some even post after leaving the company. But if I look at what are these common traits which helped all of us is, first of all, there was this great curiosity about learning new things.
Right.
See, when we began, we were a single geography country.
Yes.
We were there initially in only CNS. Then we went into gastro. Then we went into ortho. I joined as, the head of the marketing of cardiovascular. Then we got into diabetes. I mean, the journey continued.
Yeah.
So, learning new therapies, learning about new products, learning about research happening worldwide. What does it take to succeed in different states of India? India is not also a homogeneous country, right? Every state can potentially be as complex as a country by itself, right? So what does it take to succeed? What challenges are you willing to take? Your ability to deliver on those promises. I think these were important initial, I call it, they were foundations.
Right.
Then, of course, mobility always helps for any professional. And I'm talking mobility in terms of the mindset to do things that you are not comfortable with doing.
Exactly.
Things which challenge you, things that actually make you at times feel nervous, incompetent, like this live LinkedIn session is making me feel. Right? But still, taking a stab at it and, jumping into the water and saying, what, if the choice is between swim or sink, I have the confidence that I will swim and I'll reach the shore. So it's, that attitude of taking chances with yourself, moving across therapies. In those days, I think we were, as I said, almost like a single country company. We genuinely wanted to go into international markets. So I took a leap of moving from, not on my own, Mr. Shangvi asked me to move from the cardiovascular diabetes business of India to head up the emerging markets business. We were there only in a few countries in those days. And believe it or not, I was given an assignment where I would have been handling 1/10 of the turnover that I was handling in the India business.
Yes.
So I wasn't very sure whether this was a promotion or a
Or-
sign for me to move out.
Exactly.
But I still took it on as a challenge, and I did it for 10 years. I think, again, got lucky,
Yeah.
worked with wonderful people who still are my colleagues, on the 6th floor above,
Sure.
and grew that business. And I had the personal pleasure of having worked in at least 60 countries globally and setting up Sun's operations in most of them. So that's been and the learning that you get when you travel across cultures, understand different businesses, opens up your mind.
Yes.
Subsequently, I handled the India business as CEO, integrated Ranbaxy into the Sun organization, and for the past 8 years, my ask and task is to maintain and grow the base generic business, but also create a new vertical of growth for the company, which is the specialty. Today, I think we have been able to create a $1 billion specialty business, which I think can only do even better from here. And with colleagues like Meeta joining me, I think my job becomes that much easier. So thank you, Meeta, for joining us, and I hope this partially answers your question.
No, very much, in fact. And in fact, I would say that in many ways, as I was saying, like, you are the Sun.
So many of these questions, if I may interrupt you, Suresh, I always tell people I'm the absolute wrong person to ask this question, because see, when you've been in a company for 30 years, sometimes it's difficult to know where the organization ends and the individual begins and vice versa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah. And in fact, that's where, and in fact, listening to your story, Abhay, that's what I was thinking, is that in so many ways, you mentioned that, starting from one therapy areas to multiple, and if I recall right, at least for the India business, there are some 43 therapy areas. So I'm just thinking that, we've come a long way from that time, but, the seeds were sown by you. So in some ways, from what you described is that you've taken charge wherever. So, moving from the therapy area to emerging markets where you set up, across 60 odd countries, and now we are, almost 100 odd countries plus. And from there, so you took charge of the situation, you sowed the seeds, and then you thrive together. You set up the teams, and who all have worked together. So in some ways, you are a true embodiment of all the
Actually,
three.
I respectfully disagree with you, Suresh. I think
we love you for that.
and I'll tell you reason why. See, all of us know that no individual can be a Superman. And anybody who feels that I have created a Sun, whoever it is, I think their ego is larger than their capability. That's the way I look at it. And I honestly feel that the team members who I've been blessed by God. That many times I feel that God has made me the face of an organization who did the hard work, and allowing me to take this credit. So I think it's literally the teams that I have worked across the globe in different functions, both the front end as well as the enabling functions. I think you and I are just the nice beneficiaries of that.
And actually, that's why, in fact, we have one of the values in some friends, which is humility. In fact, I would say that's something very distinctive. And in many ways, I would say what Abhay, he brings out, is an embodiment of the humility. So I would thank you, Abhay. I think really appreciate that's really brought live in terms of, how do you create your own sunshine at Sun. So maybe moving to Meeta. So, Meeta, you've been with Sun, for a year now. Am I right? Almost. So if you could just, tell us about, why you decided to join Sun. You've worked with so many, prestigious companies globally. And, so you joined us you've been in US for forever, and then you joined us in North America. And so if you can just tell us about, your own, why did you join us, and what has been your good, bad, and the ugly experience with people and culture. Tell all.
Well, this guy brings challenges.
The ugly part of it.
So it's hard to follow our North America CEO with that illustrious career, but I'll take a crack at it. As you just mentioned, I've had a long career in specialty pharma, and in specialty pharma, I started my career in the labs as a cardiovascular discovery scientist, and then moved into business development in various forms, in licensing, out licensing, mergers, and so on. And my entire career was essentially shearing plow and MSD. I was at MSD BD when the company out-licensed tildrakizumab to Sun.
Yeah.
So I was on the other side of this asset.
Right.
And what I can say is I learned then that the MSD leadership had high respect for Sun's leadership. And in particular, our managing director, Mr. Dilip Shangvi. And so I always had a very positive impression of Sun.
Yes.
Even though I knew it was a generic powerhouse, I knew that it was looking to get into the specialty space. So when the opportunity arose to come here and contribute to a growing specialty organization, where a lot of efforts were being focused in the US, but globally, I took it. I thought it would be a great, way to give back to a company that originated from my place of birth. Even though I'm an American citizen and been there for a long time. And so it was just, the other piece was the commitment from senior leadership to get into the specialty space, commitment in terms of resources and so on. And then the organization was a culture where people were allowed to develop, whether it's through resources, whether it's through lateral moves. And I found it to be a pleasure. I have run into so many people who are so genuine, hardworking, willing to collaborate, that this year has been a pleasure. Yeah.
Right. Amazing. And Meeta, if you can, in terms of, as we said that, better every day, take charge, thrive together. So, so what's, any thoughts on this, any experiences that you had in this time?
Yeah. So better every day. I mean, I've been here a year, right? So there's a lot of work to be done. But in terms of better every day, we're continuing to focus on building our specialty business, expanding, looking at opportunities, not only in our core therapy areas, but also in adjacencies. But we're also refining processes to make maybe better and more timely governance decisions, and also building sort of the infrastructure to collate the large volume of information we're collecting in terms of all of the different opportunities we're looking at. So we're refining processes as well. So through that, we're becoming better every day. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if I may add, Meeta, to what you're saying, and in many cultures, it's a good practice, which probably in India we do not do. That on a Friday they say Happy Friday, which is great, and I love my Friday evenings. So I look forward to a weekend. But at the end of a happy Friday, there should be an exciting Monday. And if that week that is ahead of you doesn't excite you, I think you'll become stale. So while I do enjoy a relaxing weekend, I do look forward to an exciting week and an exciting Monday.
I think we all do, right? We're here, we're committed. And so the work doesn't stop on a Friday and start on a Monday. It's sort of always with you.
That's true. And I think in many ways, I think Abhay said something which is really, I think, which is the crux of the, so on Monday, like, when you jump out of the bed, so do you get out of the bed with a groan, loud groan, or do you get out of the bed that, wow, I want to see, what is there, I want to, be with my colleagues, I want to make an impact. So which is, I think, the true essence of, whether you are enjoying at a place or not. Amazing. No, that's good.
Occasionally there's a little groan, but on balance, it's all very positive. So.
No, I agree. And maybe especially after one has had too many wine, glasses of wine, then obviously there could be some.
We don't do that.
Great. So Abhay, maybe just coming to our this employee promise or employee value proposition. So is this something and in some ways you said, but would be great for you to, if you can help elaborate, is that through your journey through Sun. So while we are culling out these three things, but do you see these as something new or different, or this is?
So personally, I don't. But there is a reason for it. As I said, the Sun that I joined and the Sun that we are now, there's a huge difference. So in those days, it was almost like a a sort of a family environment, just
Right.
50 people in the home office,
Yes, yes.
three BUs, so your field force would have been far, far smaller, single
Right, right,
country. So everybody knew everybody, and we also knew their spouses and kids,
Yes, yes, yes.
right?
Yeah,
So for us to get a common message across, it was pretty simple.
yeah.
And I used to observe you, you would observe me, and so on
Yes.
and so forth. So behaviors, fell in line without you
Exactly.
having to, sort of say it out.
Say it out. Yes, yes.
But then you became like a multi-therapy team. Like India today has something like what 14, 15,000 reps, maybe
Yes.
40 plus BUs. We're there in 100 countries.
Yes.
So now hardly anybody knows anybody by
Yes.
name. Forget their families, right?
Yes, yes.
So when I mean, I have lived my life in India, but today when I come to Sun House from the US, I feel that 90% of people I don't even know,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yes, yes, yes.
At
Exactly.
one time I knew everybody by name.
Yes, yes, yes.
And that's when then the organization and HR leading the
Yeah.
process has to then create those, let's call it a common language,
language,
which
yes.
everybody across the globe understands and can associate themselves with, and more importantly, then, live it.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that's the whole purpose. So I think, first of
Yes.
all, kudos to the communications and the HR team for creating this.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you said, you probably got it out of our brains,
Yes.
but gave it the words which
Give
will
it
have
words.
a global impact. So I
Yes,
think to me that's the relevance and why we need to do it. What you and I probably 30 years ago knew intuitively
Intuitively, yes.
now has to be said out.
Yes, yes,
You know?
yes, exactly. And no, I think, and in fact, to that matter, I would say that our amazing communication and HR teams and all the country teams, all the country teams, I would say, all the employees, all the the Sun family members across is they all contributed to saying when we asked them that what are the things which distinguish, and these three really things which stood out. And as you mentioned, your own life and all that it bears a testimony to this fact that this is what. And maybe just thinking about if we look at one or two more, so while people could think of these as buzzwords, but these are the these words have to be lived and they have to be practiced in real life. And that's where people are doing that. But maybe if there could be some more examples, and Abhay, I mentioned about mobility, how it is benefited. If you could just talk a bit about more about that.
So I literally know, and I can spend maybe 3 hours speaking
Yeah.
about this, and your
Yes,
session
yes,
is
yes.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally know hundreds of people who have moved across BUs, who have moved across countries, who have moved across different functions. Like my, executive assistant in the US today is an HR person.
Is an HR person.
He
Yes,
was for
exactly.
2 years ago. He was in your team in
Yes.
HR.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
He gives me a lot of grief, but I think he's also
Yeah.
a great asset. Okay,
Yeah,
and
we
I really
he's
hope
serving you well.
he sees the recording or something.
Yes, yes, yes.
But I mean, that's a prime example. I have people
Exactly.
who have moved from India to the US, not too many,
Right.
but they have done roles they haven't done before. I have people who have
Yes.
worked as first line, second line managers, in India, who have gone and today worked as country managers
Exactly.
in mid, small, large countries, and learned things that they did not know before. I mean, they were good at
Exactly.
sales and marketing. Today, they understand regulatory, they understand finance, HR, government relationship, supply chain.
Right.
Uh, so they kept pace with the needs of the business. So I
Business,
think
yes.
what's important is that the organization will keep growing
Growing. Yes.
organically and inorganically.
Yeah.
If you are able to keep pace with that rate of growth in terms of your own learning, delivery, mobility, ability to form and work with teams and collaborate cross-functionally, cross-culturally, then you grow with the organization.
Yes.
And if you don't, you will obviously fall by the wayside. But
Right.
I know literally hundreds of people, Suresh, who have, kept pace with the organization and have gone on to do great things. And that's not the end. I'm sure they will do even better,
better
as time goes on.
Exactly.
So they will have the opportunities. I mean, the question is, are you good enough to take those? Are you willing to stick your neck out? And
Yes.
do you have, as I told you earlier, the swim or the sink attitude? And
Yes.
I'm sure everybody will swim.
Yeah. No, that's true. And this is all about taking charge, so Abhay, as you mentioned. And in fact, I would say that this is something which is very unique, I also find, and which is not to, in fact, very few companies have. So while most companies would have a career track which says that, the HR person needs to develop within HR, And at most, the HR person would go from being a business partner to an expertise person to a shared services. But not too many companies have this fact that where we also encourage people to follow their passions, and if they want to, if the passion lies in some other function, then so be it. So, in fact, to
Sure.
your
So
example, as
when my EA who came
yes,
from HR
from
joined
HR,
me,
yes,
and to give you an example of how we, push people at the deep end, but give them the
yeah, and give them the
support
support.
when they
Yes,
need it.
yes,
The first question obviously is asked me is which function should I focus on? I
yes.
said every function other than HR.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I said
exactly.
if you depend on your strength,
Yes,
you will never learn.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So do things that you're not comfortable in. So do everything other than HR.
yeah,
And if I need some help in HR, I will tell you.
exactly.
But other things, you jump into it, and I'm there to help you, to guide you.
Yeah.
So that's the mindset. I mean,
Yeah.
again, as I say, this is not about me. I mean, I have personally been a beneficiary of this attitude of
Yes.
the organization and Mr. Sangvi myself.
Exactly.
So, and I think a lot of leaders, probably most of them, demonstrate this.
Yeah.
Let's call it DNA of the organization.
That's true. That's true. No, exactly. And in fact, if I recall, like one of our possibly, I would say, one of our most impactful factory managers, the Pasca site,
Right.
is someone who is a chartered accountant.
Chartered
And in
accountant,
fact,
yes.
he doesn't have any degree in B Farm or M Farm or a engineering degree, but he's possibly made a huge impact. Because what we are looking at is a learning mind, somebody who can take charge, who can work with people, thrive together and just become better every day, learn on this thing. And he's made huge and that was first surprise I remember, when I was visiting there, is that he doesn't have, but the impact he's making is amazing. So to your point is totally, I totally resonate with that.
And it's the growth mindset, right?
Yes,
It's
yes.
the growth mindset that really helps individuals do better, but then collectively, it helps the company do better.
Exactly, exactly. So that's really amazing. So maybe so we will. It's my team is saying that it seems to be they're shouting, and in fact they've been muted, but I can see them waving. So they say that we need to take some Q&A from the chat. So guys, so I'm not reading my general text, but I am trying to. Okay, so what we have is. Okay, so okay, this is from our friend Pooja. Okay. Okay, so we have one question here, which is you won a Great Places to Work award last year, and what was it for? And if you could tell more about it. So yes, friends, we did get certified. We got certified globally, actually in 25 countries, and in India itself, we were in top 50. And it is not only a great place to work award per se, which is there, but also we got many other categories. So best employers, top 50. We also got best place for millennials to work in. Also best workplaces for pharma, healthcare, and biotech. So which is something which speaks a bit about what we've been doing. So while we are always we feel there's always a lot more to do, lot more to learn, and but this is something, in some ways, a small validation of possibly we are in the right direction. And maybe just coming to there's this second question, which is what do you all look for in people from a behavioral attributes perspective when looking at hiring or promoting? So maybe if I ask Abhay, if you could just elaborate, you do this day in, day out.
Yeah.
So yeah, please.
So first and foremost, as a company and as an individual,
Yes.
we hire for attitude,
Right,
because that is something you can't buy in the market.
right.
Do you have the fire in the belly
Yes.
to guts it out? Do you have the attitude of a winner?
Right.
What's kind of a background do you come from? Have you done different things in your life? Have you done, have you traveled to different countries,
Yes.
even as a tourist? Doesn't
Yes,
matter.
yes, exactly.
Not
exactly.
necessarily for work.
Yeah.
Have you moved across assignments? To me, those, I think, are core values that I first look for.
Right.
Because you may have the right skills, you may have the right academic qualifications and everything in your resume,
Right.
but if you're not the right person,
Yes.
then I don't think you and I can work together for a long time.
Right.
So I first hire for that, and then of course, sometimes you take skill as a baseline.
Baseline,
You need to have it, right, for certain roles, and most roles actually. Why certain roles? You need to have it. So you take skill as the baseline, but I first and foremost hire for attitude. And that's what I keep checking. Will this person fit in my team? Will this person work with the others?
Yes.
Will that person be able to make us better than the incumbent? I think those are important considerations. I'm keeping it crisp,
Yes.
looking at the time, but yeah, I think as a headline, that's where I would go.
Sure. And Dr. Meeta, anything from your side on?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're winding down. Is that it? So,
yeah.
So I guess what I would look for definitely for the specialty business, because it's complicated, right? There's explosion of new science. So for us to build in the specialty, I do look for individuals with a certain sort of understanding of the science, right? That's core. But I would say sourcing, developing, commercializing drugs is a team sport.
Yes.
Right? And so I look for people who are team players, because you can't do it alone.
Yes.
You've got, BD has to work with clinical development, commercial, with legal, with finance, with HR.
Yes.
And so in order for us to succeed, you have to have someone that has high EQ and has the ability to work to get to a shared common goal. That's what I look for.
Right. And in fact, I would say, Meeta, exactly, is to the point that, one of the big focus of Sun Pharma is specialty, where we want this to have a substantial, almost 30%, part of the portfolio from a turnover perspective to be specialty. In fact, we have been hiring hugely. In fact, we've done more than 100 plus hires, both across US, Japan, and India. And now we are doing so across more countries in Latin America and all that. So which is so I think this is amazing is for the attitude and for the skills.
Right, and as you're hiring people, with all these people, they're coming from different backgrounds, right? So we're not homogeneous anymore.
Exactly.
So we're coming from big pharma, biotech, different geographies. So it becomes even more critical to hire people that can understand the other person and find a way to work together.
Yeah, and most importantly is culture.
Yeah.
Culture is the ability to work across so many different cultures. Pick up phone. Are you able to call, speak to them, get things done, and feel like one team, governed by common set of values and all that.
Right, and resolve conflicts, because
resolve conflicts, which are inevitable in any large decision. But great. So thank you so much. So Abhay and Meeta and so friends, thank you for being here today, and hopefully you found this session interesting. Stay connected and learn more about us in our website, which is sunpharma.com. And for each country, we have curated websites. So when you'll go to our website, you will see what is there in the country, offering in the country and the roles which are there in the country. Plus also you will see about our values globally, and most importantly, the employee value proposition, knowing more about it, better every day, take charge and thrive together. So all the best and have a great day. It was really nice interacting with you, and you will see a lot more of us in times to come. So thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.